And this is my first interview
Really?
doing this whole series.
Like,
you are the first person.
I appreciate
I'm
it.
fucking stoked, man.
I appreciate that
I
opportunity, man.
am
I
stoked.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. That's dope to hear.
All right. Introduce yourself.
All right. My name is Nayland Smart Jr., also known as M Smart Guy or Mr. Smart Guy. I am a photographer, visual artist, fine art photographer. I specialize in as far as the field. Originally from Staten Island, New York, but I'm based in Hampton, Virginia, and I'm glad to be here.
Sick. So I found Nayland surfing through Instagram. I'm a part of, like, or I'm not even a part of, I just follow this network called CAN.
Yes.
So they're a local art network.
Contemporary Arts
Yep.
Network.
And
shout out to the CAN.
they
Contemporary Arts Network.
they are sick, and there's just like a whole community of artists around here connected to them. And I had not yet found a fine art photographer or someone that does contemporary art with photography, specifically portraits, because that's what I want to be doing. And then I scrolled across this guy, and I was like, holy shit, damn. And I thought his stuff was like breathtaking. It's sick. It's
Appreciate
different.
that, man.
So talk a little bit about your art, man.
Okay, like you said, fine art photography, but I do specialize with color in my methodology. So definitely when it comes to the presentation, also conceptually, getting all the elements creatively wise. So a creative director as well. Literally from concept from beginning to end. I literally plan that out. I might involve some people as well, whether it's a muse, whether it's a makeup artist, whether it's a designer. Incorporate all these elements, give them a vision, put it all together, and then we create the photo. What's dope though is, naturally with color being a major point in my style, it definitely pops. I'm very versatile with the presentation.
Yeah.
So I can definitely go with like Afrocentric elements or Afrofuturism as a concept, but then I also can go with a lot of technical ability with color, whether it's silhouettes, whether it's Rembrandt style, you name it, I can pull it off. So yeah.
I would love whatever photo you want to show off right
Okay,
now, just because he's got some stuff, and I think it's just unique. It's pretty sick.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna show you this one right here that's in the middle. So this one, this image, I did this in 2018. 2018. It's actually called In Between Heaven and Hell. That's the full title. Mostly I've presented it as In Between with ... of course, as the pun intended, kind of play on words. But the whole concept was really just naturally, this was dope about this muse, and she definitely is great at posing. But what I saw with her was almost like a sense of presenting the concept of humanity, where we're in between right and wrong, dark and light. So with her posing this style, I tried to really push that concept with emphasizing her hand placement with a certain color tone here, and then a certain type of color tone here to differentiate. So I obviously got In Between Heaven and Hell because I wanted to show heaven being naturally presented as concept of up, above, white colors, and then hell usually being associated with red tones.
Yeah. And so you can see, it's hard to capture in this, but it's subtle, and I love it. In the mid-tones right here, he's just got that hint of blue. And that's kind of something that goes throughout all his photos, is in these mid-tones and some of these highlights and shadows, you're finding different colors that if you had just spent like a second looking at the photo, you'd be like, okay, there are colors.
Yeah.
No, bro, he's hiding colors all in here.
Yeah.
It is
it's
so
a lot of
sick.
elements. Like one more thing I just want to show is they when I took the image, I wanted to. A lot of people confuse it with paintings.
Yeah.
So a style of mine is that I definitely want to create that sense of realism, obviously. But so her tag is actually showing in the image, and that can be perceived as a flaw by some people. But for me, I wanted to leave that there because I felt like that naturally made your eyes start looking at the whole image and realizing, like, wait a second, you see a shadow, but then wait, it's an actual person. I see a nose. I see some eyes. I see lips. You know, I see an actual person. So, yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. I love it. I love it.
Woo, man. That's cool.
And I'm gonna throw up his tag too for Instagram
for
because
sure,
I would
for
love
sure.
for you guys to like actually look at his stuff
Yes, please.
more in depth. First pro body. Let's hear it.
Okay, first pro body. So my first one, which I still use, is the Canon SL1 body. I'm gonna hit y'all with something real crazy. You ready for this? It's only like 18 megapixel camera.
I love it. I love
You understand?
it.
So,
I love it.
So when it comes to taking the shot, man, like it's one of those things where I just stuck with the idea. Like if it's not broken, don't fix it.
This is not 42 megapixels. This shit is not 60 megapixels.
It's 18.
This is 18 megapixels.
And it doesn't look 18 in person.
No.
You're like, whoa.
It's the power of a sharp pixel, though, man. It's
Yeah,
like when you light something properly, that's what you can get.
For sure. And you know, it's funny. A misconception is a lot of people think it's the body, but it's really everything that you're using to create the image. The body, the lens, all of that. The lighting, the muse, the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And just the fact that you're using that body over, man. You know, again, it's so easy to get caught up in the crazy gear nowadays. And it's easy to let yourself down too. Like, God, like these guys have these 40 megapixel bodies with, you know, a $3,000 lens. It's not necessary.
It's not necessary. It's not.
All right, we kind of talked about this question earlier, but this is a really important question. Fuck, marry, kill. Canon, Sony, Nikon.
Y'all hear that? Oh, y'all watch. Okay, so all right, so this is how I'm gonna just.
This is serious shit right
so
here.
I look at it like this. Before I give my opinion, I look at it like this. Every brand of camera connects with a person differently.
Yeah.
But I also look at the brand and the camera as almost like a genre of music.
Yep.
It's almost like the first genre that you connect with. I feel like that's the same thing with the brand and the body and all that stuff. So
yes.
So for me, it's Canon.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you. So for me, it was just that was my first body, you know, naturally.
So we're marrying Canon.
So yeah, like
okay.
I'm gonna go with, but I'm gonna tell you what it was that made me continuously use Canon and believe in Canon. Canon has an L series lens type. Y'all, I'm plugging y'all. Y'all need to give us a little, you know, hook up because we plugging y'all at this moment. But this is just my experience.
Yeah.
You know, again, I have an SL1 body. You know, I'm using a kit lens. I start experimenting with different lenses. I buy some L lenses. I see a major difference. And that made me stick with almost like okay, because I'm seeing the difference between a Sigma lens. I'm seeing the difference between the L lens. And even when I'm using it in you know, daytime settings and I'm really trying to pull color, I feel like I get more out of the color with the L lens.
I got you.
So that's why I kind of stuck with that. Now, I would say, again, it just depends. Like no brand to me is bad. Like I just really feel like it's just what you connect with.
Yeah.
I know some people that are doing great with Panasonic. I know some people that are doing, you know, Nikon till they die. I know people that went from Nikon to Sony. You know, it's just one of those things where if it flows with you, it's like that. Like I said, genre music. If you're like, hey, I'm on some, you know, I'm listening to hip hop all the time. Then it's like, you know what, I want to listen to, you know, reggae a little more. Now you start listening to reggae, and then now you're like, you know, I want to listen to techno and house more. Now you start tapping into that.
Yes.
It's kind of like the same thing, you know, whatever kind of is pushing you or propelling you.
I got you.
In that field, you know?
I got you. Talk about your favorite lighting style, because when I came in, it's the first thing I noticed, and I let every photographer and videographer has their own thing. You know, obviously a popular thing nowadays is a whole big softbox with you know, whatever attachment you have.
Or a ring light.
Yep, ring lights. But what are you working with right now?
Man, and that's the funny thing. Like I'm not I don't have a set thing that I rely on.
Yeah.
Because I really based it off of the concept, but then also the energy with the muse. Like, you know, sometimes I switch it up in the middle of a shoot. I might add an umbrella. You know, I might turn one LED light off. I might, you know, bring out the soft box. Like, it's just understanding that I feel like you can't be rigid. So for me, as I've evolved over time with the experimentation of using different lighting setups, I see the benefit in all different setups.
Yes.
So a LED and an umbrella might work. One umbrella might work. You know, a flash over here might work. You know, it just I don't really keep it just to one lighting setup. So I would recommend to any photographer, like, don't limit yourself to just one setup. Like, you know, even, you know, today, like, we're doing this video, you were like, hey, I got a setup, but then it was like, you know, I want to try something. You start adding more.
Yep.
Like, it's one of those things, like, if you're feeling it, just go with it, man. Like, play around with the lighting, man. Because that's, to me, supersedes the equipment, is the lighting.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. I think that's a thing that gets lost on a lot of photographers. Now, when you're shooting natural light, obviously it's a little different, but when you're in a studio and you've got the lights to play with it,
yeah, man.
Start turning them on, turn them off, play with shapes, play with angles.
Go with it, please.
That is
I agree.
it.
Go with it, man. For sure.
Most embarrassing moment in photography.
I had to laugh because I wasn't expecting.
Bro, we all have one. We all have one.
Oh, great. This is deep for all y'all that are watching. All right, so most embarrassing moment. Perfect. All right. I would say I was probably like about year 2 in the game of photography. You know, camera, I got a couple lenses. You know, I'm shooting outdoors still. As you know, I'm also working indoors. I'm more primarily indoors now, but in the beginning, I was definitely doing a lot of both. But so I plan to shoot with the muse. We're like, I'm meeting her after work. This is when I'm working at the time. I got my equipment, I got my camera, I got my bag in the car, everything. You know, everything is on point. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna meet you in Norfolk. We're gonna meet at this garage. We're great.
So we're going a city away.
For
people that don't know.
Right. I live in Hampton. Hampton is a good like 25 from Norfolk, respectfully, different parts. But so we're meeting, but I'm at work, so my job is in Chesapeake.
Okay.
So I'm going Chesapeake to Norfolk. She's meeting me. We're great. So we meet in Norfolk. We're like, okay. I'm literally walking with her now. I'm like, all right, I got the spot. I got my camera bag out. Everything is good. I'm in my camera bag. Got my lens attached. And I say, all right, where's my battery? And I'm like, so mind you, at this time, early on in the game, I had one battery for my camera.
Well, Canon batteries last forever. They last forever.
But I had one, and it was not in my camera bag. So mind you, I didn't know this until literally we're in the location, we're walking around, and I'm literally getting ready to start shooting, and then I don't have my one battery.
Yes.
So after all of this, I get to tell her, this is not a joke. I know this is gonna come across real crazy, but I don't have my battery. I only have one battery, and mind you, this is also an experienced model. So this hit me a little deep in a lot of ways, ego wise. You name it. I was crushed. To me, that was the most embarrassing because that was in the space of, again, early on. You know, it's a lot of levels you can look at it. Like, hey, you should know better as a photographer. You should invest in equipment. I now have more than one battery, so I switch out in shoots, but I am prepared more. But yeah, I would say that was my most embarrassing photography experience. Yeah. That was intense.
I've definitely been
I had to make it up to her. I did make it up to her, by the way. Let me make sure they know that.
Yeah.
We did another shoot, and we started shooting. We did like 3 shoots after that, so we're good.
I've been there before, not with a battery, but with a memory. It's either the battery or the memory cards. Those are
yeah.
Because it's the thing that's so obvious that you're like, I definitely pack that shit. And then you get there and you're like, fuck. So for that reason, I now know we have, like, the area we live in is called the Seven Cities. I now know where every Best Buy in the area.
You know what I'm
Bro,
saying?
I am not messing. If
Batteries
I forget,
Plus might have it too.
yeah, if I
Shout out to
forget,
them.
I am running to the store now.
You
like,
have to.
I have spent $100
Double
before
A
a shoot
batteries, all that.
just because I left batteries, and I was like, I'm not
Can't
messing
double
with
back.
this. You've got your studio in your house,
Okay.
which is dope. Like, honestly, it's like everybody wants a studio, and it's really sick to be able to have a big, large-scale studio. But the reality is, for you to not have to travel to work is awesome. How, from a motivation standpoint, before you got your studio set up, how easy is it to stay motivated now with the studio in your house as opposed to before? Is it like not much of a difference, or do you just feel like you can get up and roll?
I mean, but it's funny you say that, because even before I had a house, you know, I had an apartment.
Yeah.
And you know, I was very like, I didn't have a backdrop. I didn't have, you know, the full bells and whistles to make it look all pristine. I had to use a wall.
Yeah.
So once I was using a wall for a while in my apartment, I realized that, and I was creating a lot of different images that, you know, no one could. Matter of fact, this was done in an apartment. You know what I mean? Right here. This was done in my actual 1-bedroom apartment. She was a dope muse. We literally came in. I was like, yep, the wall is right here. This is where we're going to shoot. And we got this. You know what I'm saying? But needless to say, and a lot of artwork that collectors have in their possession, which I'm appreciative of. But long story short, it definitely is beneficial. But for me, it was never really about the focus of having, like, I have to have a studio. It was like, I'm going to create anywhere.
Yeah.
So even if I'm like, hey, you know, I don't have a backdrop, but I have a wall that's white and I can do this, or I have a wall that's a different color, I can do this. And literally, because for a while, again, I was doing shoots at different places. So sometimes I would go to a location, you know, then they want a headshot. It's a different vibe. Hey, they want to switch from this whole experience of, hey, can you use your color now in this, you know, element? I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And I'm in a tattoo parlor and I'm using color. Like, these are different things that happen where you don't feel confinement. Exactly. Because my intention is a certain thing, but I know to translate it, I can't be limited in how I'm doing everything. So I don't really confine myself to one ideology. Like, you know, every time somebody shoots, they gotta come here.
Yeah.
No, I got equipment. I can pack it up. I can say, hey, you got a location. You know, how big is your space? I can use that. You know, not to knock anybody that uses a studio or anything like that. You know, I just look at it like, you know, between the pandemic, between, you know, hard times, things of that nature. You know, you got to get really crafty in what you do. Yeah. So I tell, don't limit yourself. Like, if you can do something in your space, do something in your space. If you can't do something in your space and you have a garage, do something there. You got a vacant room, do something there. Like, if you got to go to a location, do something there. You might have to put gas in a fee if you're charging, whatever the case may be. But don't limit yourself to just one specific thing. Yeah. Like, I can tell you, somewhere in the apartment, somewhere in my garage, some I might have done, you know, on this wall over here, something I might say, hey, you know what? Let's do floor. I'm on a ladder. You know, I might go to a location. Yeah. All that happens.
Favorite photographer?
Okay, dead or alive, or they gotta be
just favorite photographer. Yeah, favorite photographer across the board.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, can I say 2?
Yeah. All
right, I'm gonna switch it up on you.
I love that too.
I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna do 2. So my 2 favorite photographers. First one is Gordon Parks.
Gordon Parks.
And I'm gonna give why. So Gordon Parks, because even before I started actually doing photography, his ability to translate a story in his photographs, because he had an intention behind his imagery, like his style. He wanted to really show the world, you know, the country, everybody, what was happening with, you know, the civil rights era, all that stuff that and, you know, everything that he was a part of. He wanted to show segregation, he wanted to show all that. So, but his style was black and white.
Yeah.
So to be able to focus on monochromatic style and then be able to have vivid storytelling, that resonated with me before I even picked up a camera.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So shout out to Gordon Parks for that. This might sound crazy, but the second one, I'm gonna say, not to sound whatever, but I'm gonna say myself. And the reason why I say that is because I am self-taught. And not in the sense of self-taught of like, hey, I didn't, you know, want to seek out knowledge or anything. No, I definitely reached out for mentorship. You know, I didn't go to school for photography, but I'm self-taught in the sense of not only, you know, the actual technical side of using a camera, but self-taught in understanding photography.
So that answer
I had to
kind
force
of
myself to do both of those things.
that kind of like tripped me up, and I like that answer a lot.
Yeah.
And let me explain something.
Yeah.
I think the trouble with photography now is we talked about this again a little the other day. Is there are so many photographers out there, and there are so many styles, but there is definitely some prevalent styles. And so it is really easy to be like, I like their shit, I want to emulate it.
Yes.
I wanna do that.
Yes.
Is your style your favorite even? Like, do you even like your own shit? Can you tell me what you like about it?
All of that is crucial. All of that,
dude, I
had to figure all of that out in the beginning, bro. Like, respectfully, I had to sit there before that person showed up, before I even responded to that DM, before I said, hey, I like to do photo shoots, by first having a verbal conversation. I had to understand where I'm going with it, where I'm going with this person, where I'm going with this concept. Yes. Everything had to be set up to where I know where I'm going. So like, to then be able to switch up the lighting on the fly, right? To say, okay, now I have this variable, you know, maybe it's daytime and I got a window showing, you know, light. I got to change that lighting. Yep. You know, the way her skin tone is looking or the way the fabric is looking, I might have to change my colors a little bit. Like, all of these things, to understand the power in being able to do that, I had to literally say, I had to learn this. And I learned it at a time when I was unemployed, ironically. I was getting unemployment at the time. This is pre-pandemic. Yeah. But I was in a no, I got to figure this out. So I took all the energy that was negative, you know, and my intention was no. I have a mind where I see a vision, but I know I can make this happen if I'm able to get my point across, not just with the person or who's involved, but get my point across in the whole thing. Like from everything to then the print image, to then what does it mean? What is the title? Like, you know, a lot of photographers, and I hate to go here, but a lot of photographers will drop something on Instagram and they'll put a lyric or a song, and I don't knock that. Please, I'm not hating against that, but I feel like, what are you really trying to tell? What is your intention, ideally? Yes. When that muse is showing up and she's just wearing a thong, or she's topless, or she's nude, or you're like, I have this concept with a samurai sword or whatever it is, what is your intention behind that? Like, for me, it's always been fine art. My thing is taking people, real people, and having us look back through a time period and say, no, he presented real people. Yes. So regardless of whatever AI is generating or Photoshop is airbrushing, you still have a sense of reality when you look at a person through my work. And that intention and the translation to that was, you know, I don't do Photoshop. You know, I sit there and I say each person is getting a different color effect. Hey, this person might have one concept. They cut their hair. We're going to do something different. You know, it might go a silhouette. We might go, you know, hey, you know what? These are great color, but I want to go black and white now. Yeah. All of this will take place in the element of me translating every intention behind the work. You know what I'm saying?
I love it, man. Like, I love it. I'm gonna hit you with the last question. Okay. Let's do it. You know, here, like, we're talking about art, and as far as art goes, like, I think you never, from a certain standpoint, feel like you made it, right? Like the point is to keep on moving forward. You want to keep getting better. You want to keep innovating. Not only innovating the art, but innovating yourself as well. You don't want to be stagnant in your own art. And so, biggest accomplishment and moment you're proud of, like the moment you're like, shit, like my art, like I'm doing something right here. And I gotta keep on moving. Like, let's keep up the momentum.
All right, so, and I like how you separate both of them. So I'll say biggest accomplishment for me personally through my artistry was having my first solo exhibition at Downing Gross Cultural Arts Center in Newport News. And at the time, you know, with the way they presented it, I was the first photographer to actually have a solo exhibition there. And that's the Cultural Arts Center. They have a great gallery. They had a lot of great artists exhibit work there and group shows. But to have that exhibition, you know, it took place 2019, and really just embrace that aspect, you know, to be doing it about 4 years, 5 years at the time. Well, 4 years actually, because I started really doing it about 2015. Yeah. So to really be in that space and seeing your work on a wall, and really just taking in the interpretation of other people and really experiencing that was a great accomplishment. That made me say, all right, like this is major, you know, and so to lead to the second point, it's kind of the same, but it led to, I think, the next thing, because the next thing for me was actually being a part of an auction through Oakwood Arts, actually in Richmond, and through that auction it was actually my first time selling artwork, period. And it was actually sold to a collector, a couple actually, Pam and Bill Royal. It was through a private sale through the auction, but they are very instrumental in the arts programs in Richmond through Virginia Commonwealth University. They're on several boards, and they were part of the major push to get the Rumors of War statue that's up by the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts there, that was done by Kehinde Wiley. They were able to get that acquisition. Wow. So, and they're also private collectors of Kehinde Wiley, who's a prominent artist. So to find out that they purchased my work through the sale and everything like that, and knowing how art works and provenance and whatnot, that was a major kick of like, it was literally like a hard flick on the forehead, like you better pay attention. Yeah. And I think that was actually a catalyst that made me leave my job and really start pushing myself more in the art field and with my craft.
Dude, that's wild. That's so dope.
Thank you for asking me that, because you know, a lot of times as artists, you don't get to really share stories, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. It's just like such a wild thing. I feel like, you know, when you've made money off of photography, everybody can probably point to that one job where it was like, shit, like, okay, I gotta start moving. I gotta be a little more serious about this. For sure. And so it's, dude, that is sick to have someone like that just appreciate that.
For sure, man.
Now, with that being said, something that I didn't want to take too much time, but this is something because I want to do my like real art exhibit toward the end or beginning of next year. Yeah. I want to do it with portraits. It is something that drives me up a wall, and it is something that stays in my mind, which is no one wants a picture of a random person up on someone's wall. It is so annoying, because what is the most artistic thing you could think of? A human body. I'm sorry. It is one of the most artistic things. You know, we paint people all the time. Yeah. We like have all these artistic mediums, sculpt people, and you think about that. The body is such a catalyst of art. But when it comes to pictures and portraits, people are like, I don't know, like I don't want a random face looking at me. I don't know who this is. Yeah. But you've done it. You've fucking done it. And so I'm trying to create my own way of doing it, and I'm holding it close to myself. I'm not revealing what it is yet.
No, for sure.
But I love that you had the balls to do that.
Appreciate that.
Because is it not a little awkward
No, and I'm gonna tell you why it's not.
Okay.
It's not awkward because, again, I look at part of the whole journey is you also gotta research, you gotta study. You can't just say, I'm just gonna do my thing, but you also gotta pay attention too. So, one thing I've noticed is you have painters who use photographs as their reference photo for paintings. That's a very prominent practice. So once I realized that's a very prominent practice from way back and all this other stuff, I'm like, when you can see a face and see that face and see more than just, hey, this is a specific person, but this person is pushing something out, or they're trying to give me a feeling to this. Yeah. That's more than just themselves. That's when you tapped into the artistry, because at the end of the day, it's open to interpretation. So one person exactly might, like you said, might look at that and be like, I don't want a random person in my house. But then my thing is like, you still, if you have any depiction of a person, that can be inspired mostly by a person. Most of the time, the artist is inspired by someone to even do that, whether they made the hands based off their parents, whether they made the certain facial structure based off themselves. I see something where artists do a thing with eyes, and that's kind of like their thing, but I'm like, that kind of looks like them. All these things happen. So I think that once you start realizing that it's truly open to interpretation, you start tapping into your own intention of saying, all right, what do I want to really be projected out there? Yeah. So even if I have a person with a bald head, or a person with curly hair, or a person with straight hair, but I have a certain feeling or a certain presentation or a certain ideology of where I'm going with this, you just then got to focus on the translation.
I got you.
Because I promise you, like, it's not, I know how it feels because that's how it was initially when I started doing photography. Yeah. But I think once I was able to tap into that person themselves that was a part of the process, appreciating not just the end result, but how everything was, my intention was relayed, it translated well, but then they were able to take the experience and say, you know what, I would shoot with you again. Yeah. Or if you need me for whatever, let me know. Like, all of that is also the fueling process. Yeah. So you don't even think about a person saying, hey, this looks like a certain person. You're just like, hey, this is just, I don't even know who that is, but that's amazing. Yeah. Sometimes you might get hey, do I know this person? And that's even funnier, because then that opens up a whole nother dialogue. Yes. Now that person connected with it, Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you, man.
Justin, appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, boss.
It, man.
Dude, this was great.
Thank you.
First interview, guys.
I appreciate that honor, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying yes. Yeah. I've asked a lot of people so far, and I've gotten a lot of no's, and I know why, man. It is fucking hard. When you're an artist, you're moving all the time. You've got a lot to do.
It can be.
So, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Please check him out. I'm going to be posting up the tags up here so you guys can follow him, get connected with him.
On Instagram.
Reach out to him.
Sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man. All right, guys.
Peace.